Language study. Transitive verbs. Verbs that need an object are called transitive verbs. Example, he wrote a poem. What is a verb? A verb is a word or group of words that shows action. What people or things do and what happens to them, like write, fall, float. A verb may also describe a happening. For example, it rained, it became dark, or a state, like she was unhappy. Verbs have different forms that show tenses, the time of the action to which the verb refers. For example, future, past, and present. Verbs have singular and plural forms only in the case of the present tense. Comes is singular and come is plural. Note that we do not use singular forms with I and you. I come, you smile, and not I comes and you smiles. That will be wrong. The verbs be, have, and do can be used as main verbs in a sentence. Examples: for be, it is I am 12 years old, they were ready. Have, I have a brother, the dinosaur had a long tail. Do your best, she did some work. Now for be, you can also use am, are, is, are, was, were, been, being, and have for has, have, having, had, and for do, does, do, doing, did, done. That's why in the example for be it is written I am 12 years old, they were ready. Now these verbs are also used with the main verbs in a sentence to show certain things. Then they are called auxiliary or helping verbs. Be plus main verb shows that the action is not complete. It goes on. Example, I am running or it is raining. They were playing. The present and the past progressive respectively. Have plus main verb shows that the action about which we are talking now is or was complete. Example, I have done my homework. She had read the book. The present and the past perfect respectively. Now do is used with the main verb, like to form questions. Do you know the answer? Did you see the bird? What do you want? What did the queen tell them? To form negative sentences, we did not go back. Be and have auxiliaries can also form questions and negatives. Do is not needed when they are used. For example, for questions, it is are you writing a story? Have you written this? Why have you come back? And for negatives, it is I was not feeling well. She had not seen the book. There are other verbs like can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must, ought to, used to, etc., which show whether something is possible, allowed, necessary, etc. These are known as modal verbs or modal auxiliaries. They too are used as auxiliaries with the main verbs. Examples: I can swim. You may come in. You should not work too hard. Must you go? Now what is a verse? Verse is a poem in general or a group of lines forming a unit in a poem or song. Example, a song with 4 verses. Now voice. Voice is the form of a verb that shows whether the subject of a sentence does an action or has an action done to it. Examples, the policeman stopped the traffic. It is active voice. The traffic was stopped by the policeman is passive voice. Note that the object in the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive sentence and the verb form includes a form of be plus past participle. We normally use the passive voice to emphasize what happened, happens, etc. rather than who or what does the action. In the passive sentence, the doer of the action may or may not be mentioned. We use by before it when it is mentioned. The nuts were cracked. The nuts were cracked by a squirrel. The nuts were cracked by a squirrel with its teeth. Now, what is a vowel? A speech sound you make without closing any part of your mouth or throat. For example, o, a. A vowel letter is a letter of the alphabet that sounds for a vowel sound. The vowel letters are A, E, I, O, U. The letter Y too sometimes stands for a vowel. Note that one letter may stand for different sounds in different words. For example, the same vowel letter A stands for different vowel sounds in the words all, ate, and, etc. Now, what is a verb? Now, what is a word? A group of sounds or letters that has meaning. A word is a unit of language. A word is written by leaving spaces on both the sides. Many times new words are formed using different processes. They are affixation, which is adding a prefix or suffix to another word. Conversion, which is changing the class of a word without adding a prefix or suffix. Example, run verb and run noun. Compounding, joining two or more words to produce a word with a new meaning. Example, tea plus pot is teapot. There are also certain other processes of word formation, such as forming reduplicatives by joining two similar sounding elements. Example, TikTok. Clipping a word. Example, photography, phone, telephone, phone. Forming acronyms or new words from the initial letter of words. Example, TV for television and ISRO for Indian Space Research Organization.